Hey everyone, welcome back to the Lost Eternal Everything Action RPG. Today we're going to be talking about Lost Ark bolstering its development team and also potential console release. Thanks to one of you guys, by the way, who found this. We're also going to be talking about New Legend as well. And lastly, Lineage Eternal's UI. Let's jump into this. So before we get into the Lost Ark stuff, we're going to talk about New Legend. Now, this is a game that I am familiar with, and I think it's interesting. It's probably going to scratch your itch if you're waiting for other games like Lost Ark or Lineage Eternal, but I think it's standalone, a good game by itself. What I can see anyway. So this is an MMO hack and slash. It looks very similar to Diablo in terms of art style, but a little bit different in gameplay, just slightly. Now, what you need to know about New Legend is that it's going to be free to play. The game's in closed beta in Korea right now, and they've already announced that it will have a Western release. That's the main reason why I wanted to bring this up, because everyone can actually play this. Let's jump into some of the details about this game. I'm going to briefly go over it and just share some comments. So here we go. Now, like I mentioned, it's a pretty cool free-to-play MMO action RPG. Currently, there's only 4 classes, which is quite unique. Classes are Dark Lord, Whisperer, Blader, and War Mage. Pretty abstract kind of names. Some of them give away their mechanics, but we've got some gameplay footage anyway from one of the press releases. The Dark Lord is a revamped character from original Mew. So if you are familiar with the original game, you're probably going to know the Dark Lord. It's a tank DPS, essentially. Now, the Whisperer is not a revamped, but inspired character from the original Mew as well. So they're picking up a lot of the older, I'm guessing, favorites from the previous game and bringing them into the current game right now. Now, this one's a bit of a classic. It's a ranged attack character with high mobility. You guys know that kind of flavor. Demon Hunter, I'm gonna guess, like in Diablo 3. Now, they've also got the War Mage, which is a wizard, and Blader, which is melee. So I'm not really gonna go over those last two, but I will play some gameplay in the background so you do get a better idea about it. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff, guys. There's 2 tanks and 2 ranged, and they kind of follow the main archetypes of everyone's favorite, I guess. Now, what I'm gonna do is read what they describe the game to be in their press release, because I feel like we can get to see what they think this game is. Let's jump into it. Quote, New Legend is a game not only fulfilling the huge potential of the original game, but also applying the latest game trends, end quote. So I like this because it tells me that they've gone to the old game and thought, this was successful. Let's bring out its full potential with the current technology. And as they've worded it as well, latest gaming trends. So, when you hear about that latest gaming trend, you kind of get a bit turned off, like, do you not have your own ideas and that kind of stuff? But at the same time, I think they're saying it in a different kind of way, more along the lines of, latest gaming trend. We're going to make this up to speed with current action RPGs. Speaking of current action RPGs, I think the map design is very, very similar to Diablo 3. And the gameplay as well. Let's finish off what they have to say. For Western release, we are currently working on bringing the game to the West. Once a concrete schedule is finalized, we will officially announce the up-and-coming schedule. Stay tuned. But there you go, guys. The game's already in closed beta in Korea, and yeah, they're working on a schedule for all of us to play it. Am I going to play it? Yes, I think I will play this. It looks pretty interesting, and definitely want to give it a go. The last thing I want to say before we get into some of the other stuff is whoever designed the text in the character trailers, I swear they use Microsoft PowerPoint. How is it that they spend millions on game development and they make these fantastic games, and who put that text in there? Bit of a trigger for myself to see that, really? It's like, this fucking Microsoft Word did this. Anyway, enough of that stuff. Let's talk about the Lost Ark information. So, in last episode, Kazan, I bet you I'm butchering the username, sorry dude, but yeah, Kazan commented in and said, it seems that Smilegate is hiring, and he sent a link. And what it is a job listing that popped up on pocketgamer.biz. I'll put the link in the description below so you can actually read it. And it's very interesting. It looks like a job listing from Smilegate Entertainment. So I'm just going to read the job listing out, and then I'm going to comment on it and just add some extra stuff on top of this, because there are some things that need to be talked about after this anyway. Here's what the job listing says. South Korean publisher Smilegate is currently hiring to fill 3 vacancies at its, I'm not even going to try and say this word, guys, because you'll annihilate me if I get it wrong. You can go and check it out. But anyway, hiring to fill 3 vacancies at its certain location in Korea headquarters. The positions available are as followed. Associate UI Design, UI/UX Lighting Artist, and software engineer. Now, the successful candidates must be able to speak English or Korean. So one of the two, which I think is really cool. And be willing to relocate to South Korea. Can I just throw it out there and say, I would love to go and visit Seoul sometime in my life, and hopefully I get the chance to. Let's continue on. Smilegate is bolstering its team to assist with its launch of the up-and-coming MMORPG Lost Ark, which has been in development at Tripod Studios since 2011. While currently only scheduled for PC, they then go on to say mobile and console ports could follow. So there you go, guys. There's some news that we've been kind of waiting for a long time. And don't worry, this gets better, by the way, but potential mobile and console ports coming out as well. I think this is a cool idea. Yeah, it looks like they might be hitting the old PS4 or Xbox or even both. Maybe even the new Nintendo. If you guys have seen that, I don't think so. I'm just joking, guys. But now I do want to throw in some comments about this because this is a really odd thing to see. Number one is that, Smilegate Entertainment, companies like this, when they put out job listings, they go through specific job service providers. They're not going to post a job listing on a random website, pocketgamer.biz. Now, this is a legit site. What I think's happened here is the author of this article has copied this off an official job listing website and posted it here. So that's my guess. Now, once you get into this kind of realm where it's like they're copying job listings from other places, there's no valid source. So there's no, how can you verify it? It could just be, I don't know, just a random thing to get spoken about on a video like this. But anyway, guys, this job came up on May the 3rd, but I do want to actually thank Karzan for pointing this one out, because I've got different ways that I find about this kind of stuff through press releases and Google alerts and just general research, but this was an amazing find, so thanks for sharing this. This is really good. So yeah, we've been waiting for some Lost Ark news for such a long time, and yeah, it's not much, but it is something. Seeing the game that potentially might be coming to console. So if you are a console player, you might get a chance to play this, and the mobile stuff is super interesting as well. Like if you missed out on last week's episode regarding Lineage Eternal. Anyway, now speaking of Lineage Eternal, I did want to talk about, I remember when I very first found out about this game and I checked out the trailer, I'm like, this looks incredible. One thing that really caught my attention was the really odd UI. I'm not going to rip on this because, the game's still in development. I'd have to be a massive dick if I was going to rip on this, but, I just want to talk about the older videos that they did release. The UI is really not that special, especially when we compare them to other games, and I don't like to compare, someone else's work or another company's work and pin them against each other, and this is definitely not what I'm doing. Just reference in art styles along lots of different games. Found the UI extremely, lacking and just kind of thrown in there, so I'm guessing that that's kind of the thing. And I did also want to throw out there and say, since we're talking about UI from the Lost Ark job thing, and Lost Ark has an amazing UI. I haven't seen that stuff where each individual character in an action RPG has such detail, which you've seen in the bottom right corner, that plays into that class. That's really in-depth, very impressive in my opinion. I'm super hyped about Lineage Eternal, and I would like them to, obviously release some new gameplay, but I'd like them to step up the UI a little bit. In my opinion, from what I've seen from the old stuff, it's kind of lacking a little bit, and it might just be me. What do you guys think? Now, when we talk about Lineage Eternal, every now and then I reference old gameplay like I just did. I was looking at an old video that came out, I released literally 2 or 3 hours after the game got announced. The gameplay has gone through some tiny, minor graphical changes and kind of very small stuff, but notably the same as the game is now. So I wanted to reference to Lineage Eternal and its old footage. What we see in those trailers, that gameplay, although there will be some changes and, small stuff here and there, it was interesting to me to see how accurately these old trailers represent the official game. Same goes with Diablo 3. If you remember, one of the previous episodes, I showed how the game was it's there, the textures are there, the gameplay is all in there, but it's just a little bit different, but not too much. So if you are expecting some kind of grand, crazy change to happen in terms of the core of the game, it's not really going to be there in my opinion, and the actual basic graphics and gameplay and all that cool stuff that you probably like and love, that's going to be there. And I wouldn't get too worried about, you know, the game doing a 360 and looking completely different. Now, I went on a recent experiment and I have no idea why, and I ended up reinstalling Torchlight 2, and I really wanted to experience what the action RPGs that, you know, aren't really around these days were like back then and how things have changed so much. It's amazing to see how far action RPGs have come in like a couple of years. It's fascinating to me to see. These games look fantastic. Even New Legend that I spoke about at the start of this episode, they look fucking ridiculously good compared to what used to be available. And I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was interesting enough to mention it anyway to you guys. So do me a favor, go and watch the old Torchlight trailers, or, you know, any old action RPG. It doesn't have to be Torchlight, and I'm not shitting on that game either, by the way. It was awesome when it first came out, and I know it's got a good following too, probably still to this day. The experiment was worth it. It made me appreciate just how quick gaming is evolving, and looking at these games that have been around under development since forever, how quick stuff moves. Alrighty guys, so the last thing I want to talk about today is the fine line between make or break with these games. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I've seen so many action RPGs in the past that aren't like the newer versions, but so many have come in and they either make or break. Now, part of my experiment looking back at Torchlight and other games is that these games do get mass adoption, or, you know, a large amount of people buying them and playing them and getting into them. But when you look at the two major successes that I think of, Diablo 3 and Path of Exile, you know, they're not that different in terms of like look at Path of Exile's graphics and then something like Van Helsing. You know what I mean? Like the art styles are very different. Path of Exile is way more realistic, but in terms of graphic quality, you know what I mean? Like it's make or break. Choices in art direction, small features like the amazing customization system of skill trees, Diablo 3's clean combat, all of this stuff is kind of minor but major at the same time. And I think that anyone who's going to bring out an action RPG in the current market is under a lot of pressure. It really is so close. The gap between completely fucking it up and failing to being, you know, mass adopted, highly successful, and classics that will stick around for years to come, that line is so fine. And yeah, that's why I really hope, you know, Lineage Eternal and Lost Ark and, you know, all future action RPGs coming out really get a good grip. Like, these guys better have played, you know, Path of Exile, Diablo 3, and all of the other ones as well, Grim Dawn. They better have put in 3,000, 4,000 hours into this stuff and studied them critically, which I'm 100% sure that they have. The subtle, tiny changes from the actual players really do make a big difference. So anyway, guys, leave me some questions for next week if you want. Hope you enjoyed the Lost Eternal episode number 5. Still going strong. Thanks so much, guys, and I really appreciate you giving some time, and hopefully I've returned it with another awesome episode. See you next time.
I hope you find what you was looking for.